So, today is going to be a bad day to talk about this because it is currently sunny outside. But in saying that, yesterday and a few previous days before, it was quite overcast and cold and wet. And then we're kind of obviously just coming out of winter in Korea recently, somewhat. So it was very, very important to, I think, address this topic. This is only advice, and this is only speaking from personal experience, but maybe something you guys have thought about or are considering to do. So, for me, coming from Australia, where generally the weather's quite warm and somewhat sunny, not as good as LA, but somewhat, being outdoors and having sun exposure, putting aging and cancer aside, which is obviously two very important things to consider when being outdoors, but having your body convert the sun's rays into vitamin D is what we want to discuss today. And I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about this topic, and this is only, like I said, advice given my experience and maybe something for you to consider and have a think about, and if you want to chat about with your doctor. So coming from a country like that to a country like Korea, where winter is ridiculously cold, ridiculously wet, and not so conducive to being outdoors or to having sun exposure on your skin when you're outdoors, because it's so cold and wet, you're wearing quite long, thick clothing. In saying that, I think it is important to maybe think about getting your vitamin D levels tested via blood test, something you can do through a general practitioner, at least in Australia. So where you're from, that might be different, but it's worth having an appointment with your GP to check that out and seeing your vitamin D levels, because vitamin D is quite important when it comes to general health and energy. So for those people who are in countries where you may not get a lot of sun exposure, and the reasons could be multiple, like we talked about, maybe from an anti-aging perspective, maybe obviously fear of skin cancer, or just the weather's not conducive to being outdoors and getting that exposure. It might be something to consider is taking a vitamin D supplement. From my very little knowledge, a vitamin D3 is more easily absorbed for your body, so that might be a better option to look for when looking for a vitamin D supplement. And also, vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, so if this supplement is one that you can take with food, maybe have it when you're having a meal that is higher in fat or does contain healthy fats. So these can be things such as avocado, nuts and seeds, maybe olive oil, or even some eggs. So just something to consider there. Again, if you guys are maybe having issues with your energy, having issues with maybe your immune system, it could be something to consider is maybe getting a general blood test to check your body's status and your nutritional panel, but also maybe to look at your vitamin D levels. Another one I would consider is also iron, but that's something we can talk about on another day. But yeah, that's a little spiel from me. So since I've been in Korea for a while, or Korea and Japan for a while, I've started to just recently take a vitamin D supplement, and hopefully it does help, considering the weather has not been the best at all times to go out and enjoy the sun. So we'll see how we go.